Well, welcome to today's Rants. I'm on the road on my way to Moravian Falls, one of my favorite places in the world. Got a family gathering the next couple of days, and then a staff retreat at our retreat center up there. And got some really interesting news today. You know, one thing is the whole country is about to bust out in revival. You want to say you heard it here first, may not have heard it here first. Maybe many other people saying the same thing. I just hadn't heard them. But watch for some quite remarkable revivals to break out in 2018. And watch them grow, watch many more break out in 2019. Watch revival be just about sweeping the land in 2020. Now, I've been telling you for some time the Great Awakening is upon us, another Great Awakening. I believe it's the third Great Awakening. There have been some minor awakenings in between the great ones, but I believe it's the third one our country has had, and I believe it's going to be the greatest of all. But with awakenings, now awakenings are different from revivals. Awakenings tend to last decades, 30, 40, 50 years. Revivals usually last a few months, at best. Many last a few weeks, probably averages 2 to 3 months. They can be spectacular in that 2 to 3 months. Occasionally you have one like the Welsh revival that went for over a year, almost 2 years, and was so spectacular it became front page news on every major newspaper in the world, around the world. Azusa Street became, for a time, they said, the second most famous address in the world after the White House. And these were small places, but spectacular. Watch for that type of thing to start breaking out this coming year. I don't know when or where. I believe we're going to have some in the U.S. We feel like one is about to overflow in Charlotte. One is about to break out here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. But I believe ours is probably not going to happen in 2018. I'm good for it to happen whenever the Lord says, but wait for that to start happening. And I am getting so excited. You can feel it. And the other day I told you I felt a disturbance somewhere in the spirit. I felt like there was a shaking coming. And of course there was a major earthquake that happened in Alaska. I felt like that was a warning quake. I think the ring of fire is lighting up again. We really need to pray for our West Coast, for the people out there. But I'm praying for a revival, especially to break out in Los Angeles, Seattle, along our West Coast, that there would be a big ingathering there. And again, Azusa Street touched the entire world, probably had the biggest impact on the church in the last days of any other revival, even more so than the Welsh revival in a lot of ways. And I'm praying for the same kind of thing break out in Los Angeles again, the Los Angeles area, all over Los Angeles, another Jesus People movement. Whatever, but anyway, it is upon us. Something's going on, just as I felt the shaking, and I think that within a few hours it happened. I'm feeling revival. We're going to have revival busting out around our country, so get ready for a wild ride. If you're going to catch a wave of the Spirit, you need to discern where the Spirit, where the wave is going to break, where the waves are breaking. Then you need to position yourself there. Then you need to be moving in the right direction when it comes. And the same is true in catching these waves of the Spirit. So those of you who are in places where they're right about to break out, I pray that there are many of you that are rightly positioned and moving in the right direction. Ride those waves as long as you can to the benefit of everyone. But we're about to have a mighty ingathering in our country. I'm praying for all over the world, but I know it's about to come in our country too. We missed the last great wave of the Spirit in the U.S. and Europe, most of Europe. We don't want to miss this one. Okay, why is my rant today titled Shutting the Lions' Mouths? Just wanted to mention, many of you may not care about this, but the Davos Economic Summit in Davos, Switzerland, is where the world's economic elites gather once a year. These are the globalists. They're all of them. I mean, these are the ones who are, if those of you who are talking about those seeking one world government, they're all there. Trump is probably the biggest slap in the face to their agenda. Went there, and yesterday and today, he shut the lions' mouths big time. It was spectacular. It was not just his speech. He only gave like a 15 or 16 minute speech, and it was stunning. It just blew them away. Nobody could hardly gainsay it. Why? Because he went there. All of those countries, the leaders of all the other countries there, are dealing with major economic crises. Most of them, many of them are in economic decline. They've got real serious problems. Then they have other major crises in their countries, many of them in Europe, because of their, unfiltered immigration, where they just let everybody in, and the violent crime rates in their countries have gone off the charts. Something like 35,000. There have been 35,000 attacks on German police alone by these immigrants. And they're all pulling their hair out of their heads. They did it. Now they don't know how to handle what's been let loose. The terrible crime wave that has swept across many of their countries. Their economies at best are sluggish. And the U.S. is having one of the biggest economic booms in our history. We've added $8 trillion in value, getting close to $8 trillion just in our stock market increase. Unemployment is at record low levels. Minority unemployment, record low levels. Investment in our countries, companies coming home, spending billions and billions of dollars. Then with the tax cut, companies giving something like 2.5 million American workers have already received substantial bonuses given by their companies, which their companies said were because of the recent tax cuts. And they have wages increase, everything going on. We have anyway the most powerful economic engine in the world, and it is acting like we're about to run the race that nobody else is going to be able to keep up with us economically. Nobody could gainsay Trump. And they're having to listen to him. They said there was going to be a big walkout of his speech. Nobody walked out. You know why? Their people at home were saying, you better listen to this man. Look what he's doing for their country. And in spite of all the fake news in Europe, it's much worse than the U.S. Well, for a big reason is CNN International, which I said 25 years ago is the most anti-American news source I've ever seen anywhere in the world. And it's a crime that it's our own country, owned by those of our own citizens, that they put out so much unbelievable trash about our country. Well, I tell you what, Europeans are starting to see through the fake news in Europe too. And they're starting to understand, look at what's happening in America. Trump held a meeting for many of the business leaders of major European corporations, guess what? They came to that meeting. They wanted to dialogue. They wanted to talk. They're looking at America to do business with again in a big way. And trust me, many of them are looking to get out of Europe. Things have gone so crazy there. So, yeah, I do think Trump went into the lion's den of the globalists. And he has been the main champion of patriotism and nationalism, where countries don't lose their heritage, don't lose their national inheritance and their identity as who they are. And man, it was quite an amazing thing to see. But anyway, I love that kind of thing. I just thought I'd share it with you. The main thing, strap on, get ready for the revival. We're going to start breaking out in the U.S. Go there when you hear about them. When you hear about them, go there. See them. Get a part of it. It'll get on you. And I tell you, when true revival breaks out, it is contagious. You go there and get in it. And listen, when you go back to your home, you're going to bring it with you. And that's what happened in the Welsh revival, Azusa Street. People would come and visit those places, go home, and the revival would break out at home. That kind of thing is going to start happening this year. Catch the wave. Thank you for listening to today's rant.